What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are back to talk about another Detroit Lions draft pick. And today, we are talking about the last pick in day number 2. This was the Detroit Lions' third round comp pick that they got from the LA Rams. Ifeatu Melifonwu. Don't know if I'm saying it right, but it sounds cool. So let's get it started.
Up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Yeah! He's the GOAT! Oh, he's the GOAT, baby! There's nobody! Welcome, everybody, to our video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're talking about Melly out of Syracuse. I'm just going to stick with Melly because that's what Brad Holmes said. We're going to do that in the film as well. So just stick with me there. But we're talking about the cornerback that was the Lions' last day 2 pick. And I said it in my last video when we talked about our last draft pick, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I said, hey, look, this may end up being my favorite pick in this class because there's so many redeemable traits that translate to me to the NFL. And there's such a high ceiling in his game. He may end up having the highest ceiling of anybody that we drafted aside from, a guy like Penei Sewell. Because obviously Sewell is just, what he's done at his age is just outstanding. But anyways, my point is, I'm really starting to love this pick. I really am. And I'm not going to lie with you. I'm not going to say or lie. I didn't watch a lot of film on this guy before we drafted him because I didn't think he was going to be there that late. All right, when we got to day number 3, when we got to the end of the 3rd round, I kind of forgot he was on the board. Never felt like that in mock draft simulators. So when we drafted him, I knew enough about him to know that he probably shouldn't have been there. But at the same time, I was excited to learn about him. And man, the more and more I watch, the more and more exciting I'm getting about this pick. And I think this may end up being my favorite draft pick because I think this dude has such a high ceiling, so much potential, and so much that he can bring to the table right now. So we're going to dive into some film in a second, but let's talk about some of the numbers really quickly, kind of go through some things here for Melly out of Syracuse. We're going to do this video a little bit differently, try to make it a little bit more, hands-on with the film. But anyways, basically, this is a 6'2", 205-pound cornerback out of Syracuse. And has so much versatility in what he could bring to the table that year 1, he may not even be an outside corner like he was basically exclusively last season because he played only like 5 or 6 snaps at the slot cornerback position, mainly played outside corner. He may not even be that in year 1 for the Detroit Lions because he can play so many different spots to me based on his abilities that he brings to the table. When you look at his pro day results, they are really incredible. 16 bench press reps, which put him in the 70th percentile. That's great. His 3 cone drill wasn't great, 7.01 seconds, which put him in the 34th percentile. It's not bad, but it is below average for the position. He ran a 4.4840, which is about exactly average. It's like right in the middle for every other cornerback, but it does show up that he has some long strider speed, which makes sense because of his height, but he can definitely move, and we'll talk about how he's able to keep up in those short yardage situations because that may seem like a concern to you considering his height, not a great 3 cone drill time. You may be like, oh, he's going to really struggle underneath, but trust me, that's not usually the case because he has something else about his game that allows him to stay connected with playmakers in that way. And we'll take a look at that when we get into film. But he had a 1.48 second 10-yard split. One of the best in the class for any cornerback. 1.48 second 10-yard split, which is basically, to me, the acceleration, the burst, the, hey, start from a stead stop and go. How fast can you get to 10 yards? Like the first couple of steps, how fast is that burst? It's one of the best in the class, and it shows up big time on film, and it really helps him in, especially in those short area situations, but adjusting to things, adjusting to routes. He ran a 4.34 second shuttle, which was in the 20th percentile, so that wasn't great either, but he did have a 42-inch vertical, which was 97th percentile, and a 134-inch broad jump, which was in the 98th percentile, okay? So the explosiveness was there. There was some good top end speed. The power was there. You look at his relative athletic score, 9.57 out of the cornerbacks because of his size as well. Just the agility was lacking a little bit. The agility was below average. And that may concern you, like I said, in short area situations. And obviously it's not good, but you're going to see on film the kind of thing that he can do to really help him in those situations. I really like this guy. All right, I'm really starting to like him because of, number one, against the competition, but so high his ceiling is. It's the amount of different things that he can bring to the table and the uncoachable traits. In the words of Dan Campbell, he was shocked that he was available where the Lions were sitting. He was. Lions were like, dude, we got to take him. Like, we have to take him. We'll figure out a role because we have to take him because he's just here. And when you watch him, man, you're just going to see how much potential this guy really has because he has the uncoachable traits. He's fast. He's long. He's a playmaker. playmaker. He's very smart. He's winning against good competition. There's so many things to like about his game. Statistically speaking, it's not the best. He allowed a 66% completion percentage as a whole in 2020. That was 11 games played. 18 of those completions allowed came within 1 to 9 yards. Now, when we look at the film, I'll kind of break that down a little bit why that was the case. Defense had to play a little bit more cushion. They had to give a lot of space to those underneath routes because they almost played like a bend don't break type of style, which was basically they didn't have a lot of safeties deep in help and cover, so it didn't allow him to get up and play press. A lot of times he was the last defense on the guy that he was going against, so he couldn't get up in coverage. So he gave a lot of cushion because their run defense was awful. They allowed 209 yards rushing per game. Their safeties had inexperience, and they had occasions to allow big plays. And obviously they went against some really good quarterbacks that could beat you deep. So for them, they give a lot of cushion. When they didn't, you could see his ability as press, but he didn't get a lot of press opportunities, which may surprise you considering how big he is. You would think he would have more, but a lot of that had to do with the team around him, the schematic system that he played in. But I could definitely see those numbers improving at the next level. So don't just judge a book by its cover when you see that completion percentage, but it is one of his biggest knocks. However, after that, from 10 to 19 yards, he only allowed a 31.6 pass rating on 5 completions on 11 targets, and on 20 plus yard passes, 3 for 8, some solid numbers there as well. A lot of the completions, though, like I mentioned, came between 1 and 9 yards, a lot of underneath things. And we'll see why, because a lot of times he was kind of giving them the cushion to have that. So we'll see that in the film. But before we get into it, like I said, I think I might just have to get a jersey of this dude. I may not be able to pronounce his name, but I'm excited he's a Lion. So let's get into the film.
Get into some of this film here from Melly. You're going to notice he's a very smart player that understands his responsibility. Now, you could argue that sometimes he doesn't take enough risks, and that's why he doesn't have that many interceptions, but he understands his role in the situation that he's in to not give up the big play. So as I mentioned, you know, when you're in a defense that struggles to stop the run, they don't always have a lot of help over the top. I mean, a lot of times it's going to be tough because you're kind of like the last line of defense from the cornerback position. So at that point, it's tough to guess. It's tough to jump on things because you know that if you guess wrong, if you jump on a double move, if you try to make a break that's not there, you're going to give up a big play. So while part of it is maybe he lacks a little bit of that aggressiveness, let's feel for being like a ball hawk in the back end, also some of it schematically not being in a situation where he really could because he doesn't want to give up that big play. Definitely ability to add that, you know, he could definitely add that to his game so he'd be more of a playmaker in the back end because you do see the lack of interceptions, but you still see how smart he is as a player to really just kind of adjust on the fly to what he needs to do. So this first one is actually going to be a man coverage situation here. It may look like zone because of how much cushion they're given, but yeah, it's man coverage. So this slot is going to kind of take a little leak out here from the slot receiver, but basically what's going to happen is this safety is going to jump down into the box to support the run. Now this is a play action, so maybe that sells him a little bit. And then this other safety, the free safety, is going to kind of slide over the middle. Now both outside corners here are kind of forcing their routes inside. That way the safety over the middle could potentially make a play. So you do a great, fantastic job of that. Melly's on the top of your screen here. Like I said, give him about an 8-yard cushion. I think he's going against Amari Rodgers. I'm not completely sure. But there's the play action. Notice how he doesn't bite down on anything. So he still gives cushion, Then once the break happens, the safety's over middle, he has the long speed, all right? He gives himself enough space where if he needs to go deep because this turns into a double move, he can, and we'll see examples of that later. But for him, I think the most fantastic part of his game is how well he keeps his balance, keeping his balance out of breaks, making sure that he's not shifting his body weight to one side or the other where he can't recover or he can't make a break one direction or the other, okay? So you're going to see that here. So keeps a really good balance, you know, stays on his toes, and that allows him to break off if it turns into a deep route. He has that long speed. But then you're going to see the length. Now, this is something I also noticed with Trayvon Merrick. Obviously, he's playing the safety role, and this is why some people think he can play safety, just one of the many reasons. But you're going to see him basically jump down on this. You're going to see this, that arm length. All right, the arm length to get in here, disrupt, and knock that ball away because he's able to kind of get around. A lot of corners don't have that kind of length that he does, so that's huge. And that's going to be huge if you try to play him against tight ends, big slots, whoever you try to line him against, big receivers that can really reach out and snag it, he's going to be able to get involved in those plays. Some smaller corners can't because they can't reach the football, and they're just waiting to knock it down when the ball gets to the body. For him, he can meet it at the point of attack while still being behind the play. Amari Rodgers isn't the biggest guy. I think that's who that was against, but it does kind of show some of that length. This is what I'm talking about in terms of, you know, sometimes you maybe want to see him a little bit more aggressive, but he understands that there's a lot of times that he kind of has to be a little bit more conservative. Here's a great example, all right? Notice Syracuse trying to stop the run. There's really no help behind him. There's no help deep, all right? This is the only other safety. So if it goes middle, yeah, it might be able to help, but there's no help behind him. So he has to play pretty conservative here and really stay locked onto his receiver. You see, he turns his head, really locked onto his receiver. This is one of those occasions where you like to say, hey, you want him to kind of recognize this run play and get off earlier because he's very willing as a run helper, but he stays so locked with his receiver, De'Ami Brown, one of the top receivers in this class. He stays so locked with him that he doesn't recognize the run play until he's about midfield. And then at that point, it's really tough for him to help. He does help. He's a very willing run defender, but it allows such a big play because he's so locked on his guy. But that's because there's no help over top. Here's another example, just kind of just a split second late almost on this one. Watching and reading the quarterback's eyes, he's played a lot of zone coverage. This is a zone drop for him, and you can see him kind of watch the quarterback's eyes, but he just watches a little bit too long, gets a little bit too flat-footed there, and doesn't react quick enough, and he's just about, a yard away. It's a really well-thrown ball, and he's not able to make the play there. But you can see that he's a very smart player, won't give up the big play, but at the same time, he hasn't had, some of the interceptions that would excite you on the stat sheet. But that's okay. I think, you give him some help over top. If you have a better run defense where you're not forced to do things like this, like Syracuse had to, you could see him make more plays because he's going to be more opportunities to. Making plays is all about opportunity. And if you don't get the opportunities, how are you going to do it, right? So sometimes he needs to create more opportunities, but sometimes it's just like, hey, he's just not in a situation to be able to do that. All right, here he is at the bottom of the screen here. And this is just his feel for zone. Really good feel for zone. He's played in it for a while. He's played a lot of those snaps. Some people feel like he was best fit for zone because it fits a lot of his traits. He's long. He can be physical. You can jump on things. He reads the quarterback's eyes really well. And he has a really good feel for zone. All right, so watch this example right here. And this is going to help the Lions a lot when they mixed in zone things. And it's just beautiful communication. All right, you're basically going to get some, crossing route here between these two receivers. And watch how effortlessly these two cornerbacks just kind of pass it off. And he works down, takes away the short route. Lawrence doesn't want it. He fakes it. It goes over the top. Now, of course, they complete it, but that's not his fault. He slid down. He took away the easy route. There was no miscommunication. It wasn't like, I'm going to go follow my guy. You see that a lot with young guys. That was beautiful communication. You can see the experience in zone coverage and how that can affect him. Now, in press coverage, you don't see it a ton. Here, you're going to get single high deep safety, but this is cover one man. You can see really the balance I was talking about, and this shows up a ton. I think this is what is overlooked in his game, the balance he's able to keep. Okay, watch the feet here. Out of this release, look how well he keeps the balance. He doesn't shift his body weight one way or the other where he's going to get beat and now he's just chasing. He stays right in his hip pocket. Now, he likes to be physical, usually just get one arm on a receiver, but it shows the versatility of not having to be physical. Some guys need to get, some of that receiver or they can't keep up. He shows you here, he doesn't need to get him. Didn't even get a hand on him. Yet he gets in his hip pocket and runs with him stride for stride. The long speed is definitely there, and you can see it here. We'll see that a little bit more later. Backpedaling, giving a lot of space here. Here he flips his hips, all right after the play action, basically. But look at how he keeps his body, okay? He has really good long speed, and he's in a position right now, we're going to see examples later, that he can still break down on the route, still has his head in the backfield so he can watch the quarterback the entire time, but he can also run long with you. It's the balance, okay? He's not in a situation where if you went by, you can't keep up, or he's, really biting down in the short route, he's going to get beat over top. Kind of a little bit of both there. You can see how he stops. He's able to stop. They try to hit him with a double move, no separation, and then he can run with him long. You're going to see you get a hand a little bit on the receiver here, but again, he doesn't need to be overly physical, and he's in another press situation at the bottom of the screen. You're just going to see so many ways that he can give him press coverage. So, very impressed with his press coverage. See what I did there? Very impressed. I wasn't expecting, because you look at the agility numbers, you see, okay, maybe this could be concerning a short area, but it's really not. Here's a great example here, okay? Gonna get a little bit of a hand on him there, but nothing, that's gonna get a flag or anything. But then, of course, look how fast he can close down on this type of route. And then the length. Now, this is really nice coverage. You would think a well-thrown ball, he's still not gonna be able to knock it away because, he's even, basically. But because of his length, this is where that shows off. Gets right around him, reaches in and knocks it away, avoids any kind of flag, and it turns into an interception. That's a huge play. Didn't get tons of press opportunities as much as you'd like to see because their defense didn't allow him to do that. But when they did, you get plays like that, all right? And that's huge. And that's where the length really shows up. Length is very important. It's something you can't teach. And those are just one of those intangible traits. And obviously, he goes and talks to him a little bit after play to DeAndre Brown there. I like that. Talk a little bit. Talk crap. You like to have cornerbacks with a little edge. It's not overly there, but it's, he's got a little something. He's gonna let you hear about it once he makes a play on the ball. Another single high deep safety here. And when he's impressed, he can play against pretty much everybody. All right. Now this time he gets a little bit of a hand here. You can, just look at the balance here. Almost the receiver's losing his balance on this one. All right. He's trying to fake him. He throws about 3 different moves at him, back and forth, back and forth. But look how well he just kind of mirrors the feet, sticks with him. For a big guy, that's impressive. Then he gets the hand right on the shoulder there, within 5 yards, so he's safe. All right, he could be a little physical within 5 yards, not grabbing, just giving a little push, throw him off the route a little bit. He could be more physical, though. He could be much more of a bully in coverage than he is because he's a pretty strong guy, well built. He could probably push the guys off a little bit more. He could probably push them off the route more. But there, just gives him a little tap, throws him off a little bit, throws off some of the timing, and then you're just going to see the deep speed. All right, Brown's just like, I'm going to take him over top. Brown ran a 4.46, nothing crazy. So I guess this wasn't a speedster, but he's able to kind of stay in his hip, and this allows that single high deep safety to run over and make the interception. He makes this interception in a way, because if he wasn't in this pocket, the receiver would have an opportunity to go make a play, but he's sticking right with him, and the safety then is free to just basically go track the ball and pick it off. That is a huge play. You can see he even comes down with him right in the hip the entire way down the field. It shows his different ability to do a lot of different things. Line to scrimmage, give some cushion, run deep, all those different things that he can bring to the game, which is awesome. And now here is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. We're going to see more examples of this. This one isn't even the best rep, all right? But again, watching the quarterback size, there's the play action, and look how fast he goes to the break here. All right, so this is, again, all about balance, keeping his feet under him, okay, not getting out of control here. So he keeps a really nice back pedal, and this is where he breaks. Usually he's going to flip hips or he's going to come down. In this situation, the quarterback looks his way. So it's another perfect example of his ability to stay locked on the quarterback. Now, a lot of times, if you give this much space, it's a completion, but it's not always when Meli's in coverage here because he's so long and how fast he will shoot down on these plays. But then he has the long speed to recover. So watch it here. Now the quarterback this time is looking his way. Last time he flipped hips out of play action. Now he's looking his way. So he's going to break down. Wasn't the best, balanced situation here. The quarterback, the wide receiver struggled a little bit. It was obviously knocked down, but he was going to be there. And you're going to see examples, what I mean later. Gets on top of it, wraps up the arms as if he would have caught it. But that's the kind of thing. He can really shoot down on those routes, hitches, curl routes, come back, everything. I mean, he can get on top of those quick completions. And as I mentioned, the cushion that he's going to give. So they do have some safety help over the top here. It's going to be kind of like a little bit of a screen look almost. And then here's the slant. This is where you see the completion percentage that's really high that he allows here. He's watching this because the quarterback is going to kind of sell it. Sam Howell looks to the outside. Then when he goes back to the middle, he's too late. He's got too much space. He can't make up all this ground in time. He gets close. He just can't make it all up, and he's not able to get there and knock that away. So some of that's schematic. Some of that's, you wanted to play somewhat a little bit more aggressive because if he wasn't as worried about getting beat deep, he could have just got on top of that. But some of it's schematic as well. But that's where a lot of completions come into play. Here's another example of a similar thing. See a lot of cushion. Receivers not lined up on the line of scrimmage, though, but you can see a lot of cushion he's given here. Sticks with it, but then by the time that he sees the routes go in that direction, just can't recover in time. So that's one of those spots that you'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive as a coverage guy. Show him jumping on them, like I said. But this one's nice as well. So Sam Howell is looking that direction. You can see right off the snap, he looks right, and then he comes back left right here. So he's looking left. Now, again, watch how Meli is reading the quarterback's eyes. Okay, see how he can read the quarterback's eyes and still stick with this guy? This is what's huge. So he sees that and he jumps on it right there. He jumps right in front. And while Howell's winding up like he's about to throw it, now he has to tuck it down. That could have been a pass for him because he's alone. He's on an island here. But since he jumps in front, now Howell's scrambling. He's trying to get out of the pocket, and he does a good job of sticking with him after the play and not giving up on the route where Howell could make a play right there. So he could have made a play if he would have just stopped covering him. He could have got back into it. But he doesn't. He sticks with him. So that's just, being able to read the quarterback's eyes and kind of get in position. Now here he is against Liberty here. Obviously, this is definitely a different matchup, but I just think it's still some versatility. A smaller receiver, he's a tall corner. You worry about that sometimes. He didn't really line much at slot, so that's going to be a question. Played almost exclusively on the outside. Here he's against a smaller receiver, though. Again, just look at the balance, man. Look at the press balance. All right, he's not going to be thrown off. Ability to really go either direction because he keeps himself square. So he slides here, boom, plants his foot, and now he can react anywhere. Deep, inside, outside, and he goes inside, and then he gets the hand on him. Not grabbing, just gets the hand, right? Because it's 5 yards, a little contact there. Then here's the pass, and, obviously he sticks with it. So that's great stuff. Here we go again against Clemson. Let's show some more clips here. This is one of his highlight plays. People always look at this play because this play is pretty cool, but it just shows his ability, right? The ability that he has. So giving a lot of space. All right, Lawrence is already looking that direction. So you can see, look how he's setting up his feet. Watch how he chops his feet on this play, because if this is a pass, he's going to shoot down on this. Look how he's chopping his feet. Small chops. He's ready to diagnose that and jump on it. But then he realizes it's an out route. Recovers that direction. Now he sees that it's a down, out, and up. So he kind of slides with him, and look how he just kind of curls it off, and he's able to run with him that deep speed. No chance. And then caps it off, icing on the cake, right in his hip. Lawrence already let go of the ball. Reading the receiver's eyes, the little tells of, hey, the ball's coming, because obviously you don't want to just guess. But after the third move, that's kind of the end of the route. Reads the quarterback's eyes, flips around, gets his head around, and he knocks it down with that great length. Pretty much just boxes the receiver out of that play. That's a fantastic play for the corner. Yeah, I'd love to see a pick there, but that's fantastic. Talk about some of this run support, because he does add a lot of run support to the game. A lot of run support he gives, and you like to see that. See his willingness to help in run support. Now, his technique isn't flawless. He doesn't break down that well always, but he is not afraid to get in there and make some things happen. You see a pretty nice chuck there. Kind of just pushes the running back on the ground. That was great to get inside and help. He's going to help against the run, which makes him versatile, because if you don't help against the run, it really limits what you can do. Since he does this against run, you can kind of line him up anywhere, in the box, safety, tight ends, core receivers, because he'll tackle. He'll tackle is basically my point here. You're going to get a quick screen to his side. I love this as well. Watch him take on the receiver blocking here. A lot of guys struggle with this, but because his size, his length, and his physicality, his aggressiveness, he's basically just going to throw this receiver off, and then he's going to make the tackle. All right, that is a textbook play. I love it. I love it. All right, I don't know if this is the exact same one. I don't think it is. Maybe it is, but either way, another screen that direction, again, just backs up the receiver and then gets in position and makes a really nice tackle there. So fantastic play against the receiver screen to take on blockers. He can really take on, receivers on screens, which is awesome because it helps him a lot in those situations. Here's a run play his direction. There he notices it, right? Watch him throw off the receiver, come down. He's gonna be very impactful. He's gonna help and kind of just forces him out of bounds. Again, not always the best tackling technique. Sometimes he doesn't always see what he's hitting that well, and it allows for smaller, looser running backs to kind of juke him out. But he does help. He definitely helps, and that's the first thing that you can ask. You just want a guy that's willing. You don't want a guy that shies away from that kind of thing. So he'll definitely help there. Here's one of my favorite plays, though, and this one I'm talking about shooting down on things. So obviously there's the fake, but watch him. Look at the balance here. Look how he chops his feet. So this is what I'm talking about. He can change the direction anyway because of how well he set himself up. Watch, small chops like we saw earlier, but this time he notices the ball is coming out of the receiver's hands, Sam Howell's hands here. So watch how he breaks down and shoots on this play. This is fast. Now his 10-yard split was one of the best in the class for any cornerback, all right? Super fast 10-yard split. Long speed is great, but his 10-yard split is incredible, and that just shows the explosive burst and the 0 to 60 like that. And this is where those type of things show off. Watch this. Boom. Shooting down like an absolute missile. And then boom, laying the hit. That's what I'm talking about. Not afraid to lay the boom. Great size. And he just flashes down. You know what? I don't think we're doing it justice with the, 0.5 speed there. Let me show you how fast this dude is actually moving on this play, okay? Let's watch this at normal speed. Watch this. That is a football play, okay? That's what I'm talking about. I feel like we didn't do it justice with the soul. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about, the aggressive nature. Watch this. Get off of me. And then bam. Get in there, get your shoulder. Get a little dirty with it. Throw that receiver on the ground. Now, like I said, sometimes his form isn't beautiful. Let's just keep showing this because I love it in this normal speed. I think it does justice. Chops his feet, breaks down, passes going that way. Okay, I'm going to shoot down on this. Boom. Like a missile. Bam. And then he's there. Ball's incomplete. Now, maybe if you would have kept the setup, maybe you could have got a pick or whatever. But that would have been just randomly, hey, I didn't come up and I got a pick. But if it should have been a completion then. For him, he shoots down on that, he's going to make a play. And the receiver's always got that in the back of mind, like, oh gosh, I'm going to get hit. He's going to hit me. He's not going to let me just catch this pass. That's what you want. You want your receiver thinking about where's the defender. Kind of like we were talking about with St. Brown. Sometimes he takes his eyes off because he's always looking like where he's going to go. That's like the exact same thing that happened here because he's thinking, okay, I'm going to get hit. I got to turn now. Doesn't come down with the football. He's worried about the guy behind him. Here we go. Another example. Boom. Oh my God. I mean, that's just beautiful. Is that not beautiful? Look at this. Shoot down like a missile, baby. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. And then here we go again, throwing off the wide receiver screen. He's going to get involved in this tackle. You love him as a run defender. He can give you so much presence. Now, here's what I'm talking about. His tackling form isn't the best. Doesn't always break down extremely well. Agile, smaller guys can give him problems in space one-on-one. Like here, for example, kind of dips down, doesn't really see what he's hitting, kind of loses some balance there, and he doesn't do a great job of wrapping up, but he at least helped. He's not going to say, I don't want to tackle. I'm a corner. I don't tackle. You're going to tackle. Here he is again here. Again, like I said, doesn't break down extremely well here, and some of that, like, short area change direction isn't fantastic. So he doesn't really make that tackle, even though he should have. He got his arms on him. You got to make this tackle. So he's not a great tackler, but he is a willing run defender. He graded out good, but not great there. Okay, so bang. Basically what I'm saying is that this dude can be very versatile. Some people believe he could play safety, play that big nickel role, basically where he's going against tight ends, slots. He could probably do that because of his ability to basically do everything. And he's a very smart player. Doesn't allow the big play very often. But you would like to see him sometimes be more aggressive, trying to come up with some of those big plays. But his length, his size, and his willingness against the run is going to allow him to play everywhere. And that can make you a year one impact because while you may not say, okay, I'm an outside cornerback like I was in college, he could be a sub-package nickel, someone that can get involved. You just want to have your guys involved, right? Find a role for him, and that could be his role. At 6'2", 205, really long, very willing to tackle, that gives him a lot of versatility. Can play press, can run deep. All of that ability lets you play everywhere. And we saw him against smaller receivers. I want to show that because slots can be a lot smaller sometimes, but he's able to keep that balance. It's all about the balance for him, and it makes him a very special player that has a lot of upside. So I didn't think he'd be there when we picked him, and I'm glad we did. As I mentioned, I think this may end up being my favorite pick in this year's class. I might have to just get a jersey because even though I can't pronounce it, it'd be cool to have it on the back. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.